Hi there. Today I'm going to talk about hysteresis. Hysteresis. The reason why I want to talk about this is because sometimes, whenever you see some kind of circuit, you may see an inductor like this and then something else. But within an inductor, sometimes we used to put something made of iron, and then we would have the wire of the inductor going like this and like this and like this, all the way, wrapping the thing that we put made in iron several times. Now, the funny things though is that if we measure the magnetic field that we get, sorry, from our configuration with this piece of iron and the wire with the current passing through, and the normal inductor here connected to a power supply, we will notice that this configuration has a way stronger magnetic field compared to the normal inductor. So this one has a stronger magnetic field. But why is that? Why do we get a stronger magnetic field if we use something like a piece of iron, wrap it with just wrap it with a it could be a copper wire in which we're gonna make a DC current flow through. Well, this has to do with hysteresis, and it is the reason why I wanted to talk about this. Hysteresis, by the way, has also many applications in the real world, um, like it's used in hard drives and so on. Like in normal hard drives, like the one I have here. So it's important, it's good to know what hysteresis is beside normal circuits analysis. So let's crack on. What's hysteresis? What is hysteresis? Well, let's start with a few points, shall we? The first point I'm gonna make is that dipoles. Oh no! I'm gonna use black. I want to use black. I always use black for this thing. So dipoles refer to line up. What does it mean? Well, it means that basically dipoles. If I have a material, the magnetic field inside that material has well, basically all the I atoms are gonna be lined up together. Second point I'm gonna make is that magnets line up with an external magnetic field, which for all our intents and purposes I'm gonna call Bx, which stands for B external. The third thing I'm gonna say, so basically they're influenced by an external magnetic field. And if I have an external magnetic field, they're gonna line according to that magnetic field. Another thing I'm gonna say is that energy goes up if the domain, I'm gonna tell you what the domain is opposite to the external magnetic field, which we called Bx, and goes down if the domain is parallel to the external magnetic field, which we call Bx again. Now, sorry, why am I saying this? Well, another things, domain boundaries can shift. Now, why I'm saying those things? Well, let's suppose that we have some kind of material here, and we have and it's aligned in the right direction. Everything is aligned. It's a dipole, so it's gonna be aligned all together, as I said before, in a single direction. So they're all gonna be aligned on the right in this case. Yeah. Okay. Now, this one is my boundary. Inside something like, I don't know, like a spoon or something, I can have several boundaries, but actually this one is going to be my boundary that's just pointing in this direction. Now, what happens if I have another field like here, which is external? It's not from my spoon, for instance, but it's just external, and it's pointing in the opposite direction, so to the left. Like so. Well, if this is the case, then the boundary of this one are gonna try to, you know, make these other field align. So if I'm actually, you know, making this external magnetic field up by, for instance, making, you know, DC current flow through in one direction, which is opposite to the magnetic field of this this piece of iron, like could be a spoon or anything. Well, actually not a spoon, maybe, but well, anything really, which is made of iron, for instance. Then this field made up by the current flowing in one direction is gonna try to, you know, gain some territory here, and then a bit of territory here, and then a bit of territory here. So as I said, domain boundaries can shift, and these boundaries gonna become larger and larger and larger and larger and larger and larger until all these dipole, so this magnet is gonna be magnetized and it's gonna point in this direction. Okay, so it's gonna be aligned with my external magnetic field. Now, what happens? Well, let's try to plot this in a graph to have a better understanding of what's going on. Now, let's suppose that I have my circuit here, okay, and I'm basically trying to, well, this is positive and this is negative, and I'm making a current flow through here, but this is not gonna be just a normal inductor. It's gonna be this one here with my spoon or whatever it's made, for instance, like in iron. Okay, so let's say that we don't have this. We are connected to this in and out. Okay, so we're literally making current flow through this piece of iron, through our cable to our wires. Now, I'm gonna plug this to have a better understanding of what's going to happen. Let me just, can I do this here? Yeah, I can. I think I have enough space anyway. So here in these axes I'm gonna have B, which is basically my magnetic field, but without the iron. So without this piece of iron. And here I'm gonna have my magnetic field, my resulting magnetic field. Now what happens? Well, I suppose that we're gonna start from this point A, and we're gonna make current flow through this piece of iron. So the current is DC, is flowing through here, going back to the power source, flowing, going back, flowing, going back, flowing, going back. Then this magnetic field is basically going to try to gain some territory over this. So I'm going to have, you know, this one is going to raise, and it's going to try, and then it's going to attenuate until I get this. To this point one, which I'm going to call B. And this point is called a saturation point. What's a saturation point? Well, the saturation point is basically the point in which you cannot have more, you cannot make the boundary of your domain shift any farther, because, you know, the external magnetic field has gained some territory, and again and again and again and again and again, and then all this basically is, you know, is done gain some territory and territory and territory, and now so is here. You cannot, you know, you cannot gain any more territory because it has already conquered the whole other opposite magnetic field. It's pretty much like when you have your mug basically, and you use the spoon to put like you have tea and you put sugar with your spoon in your mug, and you know the tea eventually is gonna be a saturated solution. So basically you cannot, you know, even no matter how you're gonna put your spoon and you're gonna, you know, rotate it inside your mug, you're not gonna be able to put any more sugar because it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna blend together with the tea. Hopefully you're not gonna do that because it's not very healthy as well. So let's put the mug here, back there. But yeah, that's that one will be a saturated solution, a saturated solution. So a saturation point here is pretty much the same. You cannot, this one will be the sugar, but you wouldn't be able to get any farther because this one has already conquered all these other things. So essentially those one will be pointing, all those blue one will be pointing in this direction, the same direction as our external magnetic field. Now, what happens if I say, okay, fair enough, I'm fine, I'm happy with this. Now I'm gonna remove my power source, so like my battery and so on, and I'm gonna stop the current from flowing. Well, if I do that, let me use black as a color. If I do that and I basically interrupt the current from flowing through the iron, so this material, well, then I'm gonna have, well, this one is gonna go back because it's no longer gonna have, you know, I'm gonna lose some territory. This one, the green one, is gonna lose some territory. So I'm gonna go down, 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 down to this point, which I'm gonna call C. Now, the thing is that although I have interrupted the my power supply and I'm no longer giving current to this piece of iron, I still have this thing magnetized a little bit. So I'm not gonna go back to to my original point A, because this one still has a bit of magnetization left. So it's still magnetized. Now, what can I do to bring it back and avoid it to have it magnetized? Well, I can basically say, okay, I'm gonna switch my power supply. I'm gonna have the minus here and the plus here. So I'm basically literally gonna switch my power supply. I'm gonna take the battery, flip it, and put it back in. So I'm basically gonna have the minus here and the plus here. So the current it was going to flow in this direction, is DC, but now it's gonna flow in the opposite direction. Still DC, but in the opposite direction. Now, what happens? Well, as I do that, I'm gonna go down, 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 down till this point. But if I keep doing that and I keep the current flow through in the opposite direction, eventually I'm gonna, this one is gonna try to gain some territory over the green one. So the blue one is gonna try to gain some territory. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna try to go in this direction to gain some territory, again, and then I'm gonna reach another point, which I'm gonna call D. And again, it's gonna be a saturation point. Just like this one, in which I had the green one gaining all the possible territory and conquering the blue one, now I have the blue one gaining all the possible territory and conquering the green one. So I cannot go any farther with this. Now, if I'm gonna interrupt the current and remove my battery again, which was in the opposite direction, but now I'm gonna take it off again, and I'm not gonna have current any longer again. Let me use the blue pen. Then it's gonna, I'm gonna lose the blue one is gonna lose some territory, so it's gonna go back here. I'm gonna have this other point, which I'm gonna call E, and if I like this, and if I plug my voltage source back in its original position, so I'm gonna swap it again and put the positive side here and the negative side here back to its original position, I'm gonna let the current flow through in the opposite direction as the other one. So it's like the exact same way I had it flowing at the very beginning. And so I was using the blue pen. So I'm gonna go back up and up and up till I'm gonna get to this point B again. And then the whole cycle is gonna repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. So yeah, that's pretty much hysteresis. But notice that I'm not gonna go back to my point A. It's very difficult to go back to my point A. I would have to go to this point here and then invert, and it's not easy to go back to my point A here. Now, if you take a close look, should be using colored, which I'm not used, but I have none, so I'm just gonna use black. If you look at these here, okay, so basically this one is what I'm interested in terms of hysteresis, and this whole thing is the hysteresis cycle. So this whole thing from C to E and from E to C, okay, CECEC, this thing, is actually what I'm interested in, and is what I can use with Hysteresis to make any sort of things. Like, for instance, why would you want a magnet to keep this kind of field? Well, you may want it to for well, if you're young, you're not gonna remember this because you weren't born yet. But many years ago, there were this kind of they were like credit card. Well, by the way, they're using credit cards as well. But many years ago, there were those cards that were used in phone that you found in streets, or like when you went to like train stations and so on, any kind of place, literally. And you basically were going to use the card, which on the back has this magnet, which has been going through a nice hysteresis cycle. So this magnet was, you basically inserted your card and you had some credit on this, credit, and you were actually able to, call your mom and say, look, mom, I'm gonna be home soon, and so on, because, there weren't smartphone or mobile phone. Well, mobile phone had kind of arrived, but they were very expensive back then, and there wasn't much coverage, and yeah, there were, you were actually using phone cards with, credit on them. And there was telecom back then, but it was actually coming from SIP, which then turned into telecom, and telecom made those cars. There were many companies which are now dead, like Omnitel and so on. But anyway, this was how those things were working. But also credit cards with, your sort code and account number and so on. But be on the opposite side, you're gonna have the same thing, something that has been going through an hysteresis cycle, and it's the one that you use for those kind of things, to to pay and put it into the ATM and get the money from that, and get the ATM to recognize it, and any sort of things. And as I said, it's also used for memory storage. So it's used in those hard drives, which I'm getting. This is an very old, crappy one, for a 2.5 inches one for laptops. It's a SATA, but it's a crappy one. I'm not using it anymore. I haven't been using it for years. So, but anyway, yeah, this is how hysteresis works, and this is what it's used for. I hope it is actually useful, and it helps you in your circuit analysis. Goodbye.